It's 8:30. Good morning. I'm Ian Crouch with Hunter News. Supercars organisers are already looking ahead to next year after successfully staging the first ever Newcastle 500 at the weekend. More than 190,000 people attended the event over the 3 days. Most transport services coped well with the crowds, although the Stockton Ferry Park and Ride was overstretched at times, something organisers will address next year. Most of the crowd was well behaved, although there was one incident where eggs were reportedly thrown at race cars in Parnell Place. Drivers had nothing but praise for the event, with 2017 Supercars champion Jamie Whincup saying Newcastle certainly put on quite a show.
It was an unbelievable event. I'm not just saying that because we're here. Friday morning, to see people queued up for hundreds of metres to get in. The driver parade, see so many people on the
that was epic.
Absolutely packed
Epic.
out, just enjoying themselves. Here for a great weekend.
A woman is recovering in the John Hunter Hospital after a horse riding accident near Scone. Paramedics were called to a property at Dartbrook late yesterday, where they found the 28-year-old unconscious after falling from her horse. She was taken to Scone Hospital before being airlifted to the John Hunter by the region's Westpac rescue helicopter. A new express train service has left the Newcastle interchange for the first time this morning, cutting 26 minutes off the trip to Sydney. The 503 service only stops at Hamilton, Broadmeadow and Morisset before travelling down the coast to Central, arriving at 7:26. Some Labor MPs want the Cardiff and Fassifern stops included, but the government argues the trip would no longer be an express service if it stopped at every station. The government will consider making the 6-month trial of the service permanent if there's sufficient demand for it. Parliamentary Secretary for the Hunter, Scott McDonald, is encouraging local community organisations to apply for a share of $1.2 million as part of the Social Housing Community Improvement Fund. Grants ranging from $35,000 to $50,000 will be made available to councils, not-for-profits and private sector organisations. Scott McDonald says the funding is aimed at improving the livability of social housing and reducing isolation.
It goes towards things such as gardens, barbecue areas, community areas, social areas, anything that enhances the livability of an area around where there's some social housing.
Hamilton's Dapper Theatre has always had a very strong performing arts and community presence in Newcastle and will continue to do so under new owners WEA Hunter. The theatre was the first performance arts academy established in Newcastle, offering a mixture of dance, music and theatre. Senior Compliance Officer John Radvan says they're excited to continue the theatre's legacy.
It has such a rich history and I really think it's very dear to the community, and one of the things that WEA really wanted to do was go in and make sure that the theatre stayed as a theatre because there's too many closing down and not enough opening. We're just really looking forward to this particular part of our history. WEA's been here for over 100 years and we're just excited to step into this next venture.
Sport for our sponsor PRD Nationwide East Maitland.
Jamie Whincup is still celebrating after claiming the first ever Newcastle 500. The race went down to the wire with Scott McLaughlin still a chance of taking out the championship heading into the final lap, only to be penalised for shunting Craig Lowndes into the wall as the pair headed up Watt Street. Meanwhile, Newcastle's Aaron Russell had to settle for 19th place after leading for a few laps yesterday. He says he had a few hairy moments as the drivers came to terms with the challenging circuit.
Maybe I drove a little conservative with, especially with dudes like Chaz. He almost spun me once there, and there's no point trying to fight him if if they're in that kind of mood. Obviously out to try and redeem themselves and, just let them go and away I go. So, I'm just really happy to finish today.
The Newcastle Jets W League side is enjoying its best start to the season with a solid 2-1 victory over Adelaide. They now share the competition lead with Perth, Brisbane and Canberra. And informed Jets attacker Andrew Naboot is poised to sign a 2-year contract extension after a strong start to the A-League season. The 24-year-old scored a brace in the 4-1 thrashing of Melbourne victory last Thursday. 2NURFM News Time, 26 to 9.